Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Hive Hub podcast, where we bring in the best in the industry to for our Hive cohort. And today, we have with us Jeremiah from Opencover. Opencover is a Web3 insurance platform that provides DeFi users with protections against risks like hacks, smart contract vulnerabilities, and protocol failures. And welcome, Jeremiah. Thank you for joining us and taking out the time. And congrats on the Mellow multi-cover that is now live on Opencover. We just saw that it has a $1.4 million capacity that's now added to your protocol. So congrats on that.
Cool. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So just diving right into it, how does Opencover really address the need for insurance in DeFi? And what difference do you think you're making in the industry here?
Yeah. So I think first I need to give a big disclaimer. Insurance is a regulated industry. It's a regulated term. So what we're doing really on chain is DeFi cover. It serves the exact same purpose as insurance. It's transferring risk. But it's not regulated in the same way. So in the same way that you have DEXs, decentralized exchanges, which are functionally the same as regulated exchanges, DeFi cover is kind of functionally the same as insurance, but it's not regulated in the same way. So we actually can, informally sometimes we say, DeFi insurance, but it's really DeFi cover. So today there is no sort of traditional insurance that is crypto native or like blockchain native. So that's like programmable that you can just sort of bind, that you can just purchase like that through a smart contract. This is, this is why we've participated in building DeFi cover from the ground up. But it's important to make the distinction because it's something that, regulators are looking at, and we want to be careful to describe things in the right way. But anyway, coming back to your question, so we do basically two things at Opencover. We create new risk transfer products, new cover products, and we distribute them. So, for example, the two biggest risks that we're interested in protecting users against are protocol risks. So it's what you mentioned. It's the risk of using a protocol, the protocol getting hacked, or some sort of severe economic event happening, like a liquidation failure, an oracle manipulation, and you losing your funds. And transaction cover is really to protect users at transaction time. So to make sure that they're not, to protect them against like scam transactions, or if they're doing a transaction that is sort of technically valid, but that economically is kind of dangerous. Like, for example, buying a honeypot token or doing a swap that's at a price that's really off market. We're really to make DeFi more usable, you really want to make sure that users are not directly exposed to those risks without a safety net. And so really that's where we come in. As I said, we create these products, we distribute these products. Specifically for Base, we created this thing with Nexus Mutual, which is the underwriter. So you could think of them as a kind of like insurance carrier, although really they're a specialty risk marketplace. But anyway, you can think of them as kind of like an insurance carrier, and they provide the capacity, the actual capital backing the policies in case there's a payout. So together with Nexus Mutual, we created this thing called the Base Pass, which protects users against protocol failures on 16 of the leading protocols on Base. So it's, there's nothing quite like it. We're like super proud and excited about it. And it's available on the Coinbase One on-chain benefits. It's available through some of our partners like Beefy and Arcadia. It's available on our on our website, opencover.com. Yeah, maybe I'll stop talking there.
So, given that you're talking about not insurance technically, but just helping users really safeguard their wallets and safeguard against the possible vulnerabilities of the massive Web3 market. What is it that made you want to get into the space, and how has user feedback really played a role in Opencover's journey and what it is today?
Yeah, so we are here today because of user feedback. So I guess it had like a very direct impact on what we do. But like the backstory is that in 2021, we wanted to do what a lot of people still want to do, which is make DeFi yields available to everyday users. Okay, so we built what I would describe as the equivalent we could to, or the closest DeFi version, I guess, we could to a traditional savings account. So it was like non-speculative yields, non-custodial, of course, because DeFi, but also insured against smart contract risk, again, like against protocol risk. And so we created this app, which was for everyday users. It had like this Web2 interface. So it's, you might hear this term quite a lot these days, DeFi mullet. So it's sort of like fintech in the front, DeFi in the back. So we created this thing from I'd say a product perspective. It was quite successful, and we were quite proud. We had people in their 70s. So we would, the way we got users was we were allowed for some reason to do Facebook ads. So Facebook did not block us, although you could say we were a crypto product, but I guess because we were decentralized finance, for some reason they didn't block us, and we were just running Facebook ads, and we would get these like totally everyday users on our platform, including folks who were like in their 70s. So that was like a big win for us. That's sort of like what we're all trying to do, right? We're trying to bring the world on chain. We're trying to make this stuff accessible, safe, all of that. But then, of course, back then the SEC was sort of running around, making trouble for projects. There was the UST DPEG. We were on a Polygon using USDC, Aave to generate yield. Like it was all super best in class. But because of the UST DPEG, basically we and the yields plummeting after that, and the whole sort of like crypto winter and all of that stuff, the yields came down to a point where, because the TradFi yields went back up, it didn't make that much sense to earn 4.5% on DeFi versus just 4.5%, 5% on TradFi. So long story short, the thing that our users really liked, beyond it being super easy to use, is the fact that it was covered. It was kind of insured, between quotes. And what we understood is that through personal experiences as well, like I'll skip the details, but I'm personally using all of these, or all of these sort of different DeFi cover providers, and through that experience and our professional experience building this product, we realized that really the niche, one of the biggest things that still had to be solved was really creating these like, as I mentioned, covered products and distributing them. So basically the user feedback was, this is awesome. The market realities did not permit us to sort of grow it beyond a certain size. So we decided to focus, double down specifically on insurance, and help others who are getting yield through whatever way on chain to protect themselves in case there's protect themselves against on-chain risks.
Right. And do you think this sense of, say, feeling covered or safe, for that matter, helps people? Have you seen more people willing to get on-chain and really explore more because of being covered in that sense, since Web3 generally has a reputation of being really risky, especially given the sort of target audience you must have encountered on Facebook? I'm sure that's a whole other dynamic of people who usually prefer very safe sort of investments, right? Unlike financial and monetary terms, with very low risk as such. So do you think this plays an important role in helping people get on-chain? And also, do you think this will also play an important role in getting more people on-chain in the times to come, given that there's more and more people we see getting on-chain every year? Especially, I mean, I can't speak for other places, but at least in India, I think in the last year, around 2.25 million people got onboarded into crypto. So do you think that would play an important role?
Yeah. So I guess we're seeing two things. The first one is we do these integrations. So from a user experience perspective, it's kind of annoying, when you're on a protocol opening a position, to have to come to Opencover or another cover provider to then protect yourself. It adds an extra step to what is usually already quite a few steps to use DeFi and start earning on DeFi. So what we're doing now is integrating directly in these UIs or in these protocols the cover purchase flow. And there, so for example, the last one we did was VFAT. a couple of weeks ago, and there we're seeing some, like, the numbers are very clear. Like, we're selling quite a lot of cover. People are renewing or purchasing multiple covers for multiple positions. So it's clear that if you make it easy enough, like, there's an education problem. First of all, a lot of people don't know that this stuff exists, right? It's just like, oh, crypto is, take risks, it's all speculative, you gamble. But as more and more sort of everyday users come on chain, and a lot of them are going to be more in sort of wealth preservation mode, or wealth, you're not there to like gamble big. You're there to sort of like earn maybe 50% or 100% more than off chain, but like you're not really interested in risking your entire savings to achieve that result. So basically we definitely see that once people know about it and the proposition is there and it's easy to purchase, that people just do it. But then we're also seeing, like, on the institutional side, like, I would say it's true that like a lot of our customers are, like funds or like a lot of our large customers, like they're like funds or, whales who for some reason have a lot of crypto. So for example, we sold on Base the largest Bitcoin denominated protocol cover in, like, as far as we know, like in the history of DeFi. It was 200 and something Bitcoin worth of cover for a protocol called Derive, which I think is now being acquired by Synthetics or something. But anyway, because we've been actively sort of like educating users and building and integrating, folks are starting to find us. Sort of everyday users up to funds are starting to understand that this stuff exists, and then we're trying to just make it as easy as possible for them to get protected. And we know that it directly affects their appetite, their risk appetite, because they're basically transferring the risk away with our products.
Right. And what would you say worked best for you from the user education perspective, since you said that played like a big role in getting more people onboarded?
Yeah. So I think what we've been doing so far, and we'll probably need to take a slightly more sophisticated and like wider approach, but we've basically just been building a lot and a lot of partnerships and trying to get integrated. Well, basically, for example, Beefy. We have a Beefy cover that covers the Beefy contracts, but also the underlying yield protocols that are used by the Beefy vaults. And because we have this kind of tailored product for them, they like, if you go on the Beefy DApp, you'll see that there's an option to purchase cover. This one is not a sort of like native integration in the sense that you still need to come to our website, but basically there's this option, and people now know, people who use Beefy now know, oh, okay, there is this option. They can click the link, they can come to us, and everything's pre-filled. But basically, the short answer to your question is, if I was like a builder and just trying to get the word out, like, find where there's sort of mutual synergies, when like natural mutual synergies where you're actually helping the partner or their partners, your partner's users, and then the word gets out that way. Like, they have their own distribution channel, you have your own distribution channel. It's a good thing to communicate about, hey, we partner with Beefy, we partner with VFAT, we partner with Coinbase, whatever. So yeah, so basically just do this sort of 1 + 1 like equals 3 recipe.
Opencover really leveraged the Base infrastructure. We know that Opencover raised from the Base ecosystem fund and also CB Ventures. So what impact really has this played in Opencover's growth and structure as of today?
Yeah. So, the Base team has been super mega helpful in helping us get the word out. Actually, we, our messages get amplified relatively regularly. We got, a partnership, or we got listed as one of the Coinbase One on-chain benefits partner, thanks to our, proximity with the Base team. We try to go to their events whenever we're at a conference. But yeah, no. So I think Coinbase is doing something very impressive for such an established firm, for such, like, it's a public company, like, and in a way they are operating like a startup. So I think they're trying a lot of things, and they understand that, like, the best way to drive sort of mind share and developers and traffic, basically activity to their network, is to help people succeed on their network, and so they're really good at that, I would say. So yeah, I mean, there's a ton of resources from their docs, docs.base.org, I think. There's now like a launch playbook, which focuses more on the sort of like building side of things, promotional side of things. There's the Base Ecosystem Fund. There's a ton of, I'd say, sort of organic communities as well. So I'm part of, I don't know how many, like Telegram groups. Farcaster, like I would say, is a good place to be active now as well if you're trying to reach folks on Base. And I would say the very direct consequence of like all this support and all this activity is that I think 80% of our cover purchases are happening on Base. We're also on Arbitrum and Polygon and Optimism, but really most of the activity is on Base.
Yeah, Farcaster is really picking up lately. It's been huge. And speaking of Base, since the Hive cohort mostly is early stage founders and builders just building on Base, trying to work within the Base ecosystem, do you have like any top 3 learnings from your journey that you would want to share, or some, like, say, common mistakes you see founders do that you probably wouldn't do if you had to do it all over again?
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously totally normal to make mistakes when you're a founder. If you're not making mistakes, you're not doing it right. But listen, what I would do, or what we do, I guess, is you basically just want to keep building and build something interesting. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff happening, so you're never going to get all of the sort of spotlight all the time. But if you consistently build cool stuff, and if you really are building something that your users need, and you have your sort of first 1,000 fans, or your like core community around you, the word will get out. And so my top tips, I guess, right now would be to really find your users, find your niche, build, communicate. So post on Farcaster, post on X, basically like find a way to really get that energy around your product. I would probably try as well to sort of like, you shouldn't like base your entire product and like company trajectory based on trends, but like I think it doesn't hurt to sometimes tap into trends. Like if it makes sense, for example, like mini apps right now, we don't have a mini app just yet, but that's just because we have too much stuff to do. But if we were starting, or if we had a bit more time, we would totally make a mini app. And so, like try to understand like what's the zeitgeist, like what's the trendy stuff of the time, and see if it fits your product, fits your users. And if so, see how you can use that to leverage to get more growth and more users.
Right. I mean, I feel like right now you just see founders and a lot of projects just trying to do everything at once, and there's really no balance. And I feel like that thin line of maintaining balance and focusing on, like, say, the right areas and having a solid product at the bottom of it is what it all really comes down to, right?
Yeah.
In terms of community engagement, do you think that has played a big role with Opencover? And how did you really go about creating like that sense of community?
Yeah. So, like in the early days, and we still do it sometimes, like user interviews. So like we literally try to get on calls with people. People don't like doing that too much in like, Web3. But at the same time, if somebody does get on a call with you, listen to them, because that means they think what you're building is important enough or cool enough for them to take out time
To give feedback.
but also sort of most times reveal their identity, right? Because when you speak with someone on a call, you have their email, you can
of course
typically see them on the camera, you probably know their name like after that. So try to really like actually talk to your users. A good proxy for that is just having a Discord. What we did, and it might be something that's useful to others, because we don't have a token, because we're more like, we're like, in a way, we're not degen. Like I would say, we're more trying to be this sort of, don't want to be boring, but we have to be serious because it's insurance. Our goal is not to have like hundreds of thousands of people in our Discord. Our goal is to have, say, 1,000, 10,000 people, but who are truly engaged and who are really there to because they need like our product and to have meaningful conversations. So long story short, what I'm trying to tell you is what I would probably do if to build something like a Discord community or Telegram community is have two channels or two channels.
Works, yeah.
You have the kind of general public one where you share updates, there's a bit of chit chat, but then when you see that somebody is actually really engaged or has really cares, has some cool insight, put them in the sort of more private one. And so we've got this sort of public, general chat thing, and then we have what we call our inner circle, where we let, it's invite only. We let in people who we see are genuine users or they genuinely have something to say, and that's where you can get really good feedback as well. And it's not that many people, but it's quality, and that we really listen to those folks, and a lot of the features basically that we ship are based on those either conversations, either just like somebody giving us an idea or saying, hey, I really want this, or us asking, what should we build next.
And these are users you stay in touch with and keep in loop like throughout, even when you have new features come in to test it out?
Yeah. So because we have this common channel, so for us it's on Discord. I guess you could do the same on Telegram, but because we have this this channel, they're basically part of the channel, right? And so when we're launching something new or we basically we empower those users to really have a very direct and like honest channel to the team. We get this constant stream of feedback basically from them, and it helps us prioritize what we're building.
Yeah, that's a really interesting approach, because I've come across user feedback forms being circulated to very specific people, but it's usually never the same users for different features. It's always, they never repeat the users. But I do see the value in doing that, because like over time you build that sort of a relationship, and with these users, they're directly invested with your product and your team. And I'm sure the feedback is more insightful because of these things, right?
Yeah. I would say, feedback forms. When we have forms, usually we try to jump on a call with the people and we fill them in. So we don't say like, hey, fill this in, A, because it's kind of high friction, but B, because it depends, and you're also missing all of the subtle stuff like, oh, this answer, and then you can ask, why did you answer this? So the way we try to do it, like if we are doing this sort of like, we want to ask like 10 questions the same to everyone, we would try to jump on calls there.
Yeah, makes sense, because forms can get quite binary. You don't really know why, right? You just know the answer, and then that's the end of it. But just jumping on to, I think, my last question. What is the vision and the goal for Opencover in, say, 2025 or like the next couple of years to come?
Yeah.
What can we expect?
So we want to significantly increase the risk that we cover. So far, so we're about to hit 100 million in covered risk, covered protocol risk. We've covered orders of magnitude, or one or two orders of magnitude more than that for transaction risk. But yeah, so basically we'd like to hit maybe 500 million in covered protocol risk this year, and hopefully maybe between 10 and 100 billion for transaction risk. Totally doable, because obviously on chain everything moves super fast. There's a lot of activity, so those numbers are actually not that big in the scheme of things. But I think it would be a good milestone for us this year. And then we also have some special projects that I can't talk about just yet. But if you follow us on Twitter, we'll be announcing some stuff soon.
Absolutely. So totally looking forward to it, and yeah, very excited to see what Opencover comes up with in the rest of the year. And thank you so much for taking out the time. This has been very insightful, and we hopefully will continue collaborating with Opencover in the future.
Sounds good. Yeah. Well, thanks for inviting me.